Meeting come to order, please. John.
Notice of meeting was given in the following manner. Notice of meeting was transmitted to the Home News Tribune. Said notice of meeting and a copy of the agenda were filed at the office of City Clerk. And said notice of meeting and a copy of the agenda were prominently posted on the announcement board in the lobby of City Hall at least 48 hours prior to the convening of this meeting. Roll call? Roll call?
And then we'll do
Okay,
roll, please.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Okay, and that's via phone. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
And Chair?
Yes.
Yes, we have quorum.
Pledge allegiance.
Yep. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have consideration of the the previous meeting minutes?
Yes, can we have a,
Motion?
Motion. That's the second time it's happened.
Yes.
Was that a motion, Commissioner Caldwell? Did you make a motion? Did
No,
somebody
you
just-
just mentioned.
Oh, you just said motion.
it, right.
So Medina Hernandez makes a motion, Commissioner Caldwell seconds? Okay, shall I go, Chair?
Yes.
Caldwell seconds. Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yep.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner, Chair Giorgiani?
Yes.
Okay. Chair, resolution number 1 is a resolution acting as redevelopment agency. Resolution approving designation of French Street Urban Renewal Corporation, FSURC, as redeveloper for final phase of project and project site, and approving AST, is that right? Approving AST Development Corporation, AST, as redeveloper of a multi-story medical office building for the project site. Need a motion and a second, and then we'll open the floor.
So moved. I'll second.
And Tom Kelso, counsel is here.
Yes, members of the board, Thomas F. Kelso on behalf of the applicant, AST Development. I think just to clarify, I think John said designate French Street, it's de-designate.
Sorry, de-designate, I'm sorry, yes, de-designate, thank you.
Well, we're excited to be here, hoping to receive your go-ahead with the concept plan and designation of AST Development for this really significant project, extending the redevelopment area for the hospital-related uses. And just, again, for the record, we're looking to designate AST Development as the developer with the right to assign that to an urban renewal entity to be formed, which is included in the resolution, and to de-designate French Street Urban Renewal Corporation, which was the previous urban renewal entity which had been designated by assignment from AST. They're both urban renewal entities related to AST Development. Just for your knowledge, Robert DeAnton is the principal at AST Development and has been there since the original also, so it's same company, same people. And I have 2 witnesses to present to you to give you a brief overview of the project itself. Just a little bit of background so you understand what had occurred. Originally, AST was designated, I believe, in 2005, and it was to develop the entire block 28. And it was to be intended to proceed in several phases. French Street Urban Renewal Corporation was created by AST to carry out that project, and indeed was able to complete the significant portion of the project through its first phase, which was the development of the, I think it's 800+ parking garage that's there today, as well as the medical office building that fronts on French Street. And that project has been obviously successful, it's been operating, AST as the underlying corporation and French Street Renewal are the owner-operator of that building and continue to be so. The second phase, which concept plan was approved by this board in 2006, was intended to develop the remainder of this site, which is lot 105, which we're here to talk about this evening, for a mixed-use retail residential development. There had been a lot of consideration for what would be an appropriate use there, and at that time it felt that there was a marketability for that. Unfortunately, if you consider the time that was at the end of 2006 into 2007, the economy, the national economy, went belly up. A lot of places really had to pull in their tentacles with regard to not only retail, but particularly with residential. And the concept itself never was able to be, as it was envisioned, was able to be financed. And obviously the market was something that would concern the Anton and the development entity. And so since that time, the project has languished. The redevelopment agreement from French Street Urban Renewal for that lot, for that purpose, has expired. And as you probably know, because I'm sure you all go by there, they've been utilizing the lot for surface parking, so they would be able to accommodate parkers there, and it's been that way for going on 10 years or more. But after a lot of consideration, what ASC Development has been able to do is negotiate a master lease with RWJ Barnabas for the utilization of a brand new facility to extend their operations on this site, which is a natural extension from not only Robert Wood, but also the Children's Hospital. And is indeed, I think as you've seen from the plan, there's actually intended to be a connection of the buildings in place. So what we're seeking is to formally de-designate French Street Urban Renewal, essentially redesignate AST Development, which understandably we will then assign to another urban renewal corporation that will be formed for that purpose, and that will allow them to proceed with site plan approval, which is hopefully will be done in the first part of next year, and be able to get this project going by the summertime. Just a little bit of an overview, and I know that you have in your packets a lot of that information. You've got the visuals, of course, and the description. But it is intended to be a 15-story building, which will contain approximately 228,000 square feet. It'll be exclusively for medical office and administrative uses. I will read it into the record the description of those uses, and I'm sure it was included in the packet. I'm just not 100% sure. And we've been referring to this as Plum 2, which sometimes we are very non-creative when it comes to describing this project. But Plum 2 will house several hospitals, outpatient services, Robert Wood Johnson Medical School physicians' practices, and office space for physicians and medical school administration. The main service lines in the building are the Neuroscience Institute, comprised of neurology, neurosurgery, EEG and EMG, and neuropsychology, plastic surgery, comprised of craniofacial oncology reconstruction, a gender center and a med spa, pre-admission testing for surgery, and a blood and infusion center. While all these service lines exist in some capacity on the campus, this building will allow for an expansion of all the services, including an uptake in new permanent jobs for support staff, nurses, and physicians. This building will be camp space on the existing campus, meaning down the street, allowing other service lines to right-size themselves to provide better, more appropriate space to treat patients. This building is very important to the growth of the campus, further the hospitals and Rutgers' dedication of bringing world-class medical services to the surrounding community. So in effect, what the intent is, there are most, if not all of these uses, these services that are being provided, are currently operating in the existing RWJ Barnabas building, but they're undersized, they need to be expanded, and all of those functions are going to fully move over to this new building. Then what will happen is Robert Wood will repurpose the existing space for some of the other existing uses there that also themselves need additional space. So they're essentially cramped in. In order and in anticipation of developing this project, the redevelopment plan, as you know, the French Prospect redevelopment plan, needed to have some adjustment to it. And the City Council last fall did amend the redevelopment plan in order to anticipate this use. And the actual adoption of that ordinance was just this past October. And as a result of that, the
Somerset Street to the north and Prospect Street to the west. Moving to a proposed site plan. The proposed building footprint really occupies the vast majority of the property once it'll be constructed. From a civil engineering perspective, there's two main features that we're proposing at the ground level. The first is a patient drop-off off of Somerset Street, and the second is a loading and unloading area off of Prospect Street. And we say loading and unloading, we're not talking large trucks, WB67s, we're talking more box trucks, FedEx trucks, and small garbage trucks. Relative to the building footprint, at the ground level, the building footprint is on the order of 8,000 square feet. However, upper levels expand out up and above some of the right-of-way. So on Prospect Street, we have a 10-foot overhang of building above. On Somerset Street, we have a 16-foot overhang of building above. And then on Plum Street, our overhang not only extends across the entire Plum Street right-of-way, but it will be connecting to the Children's Specialized Hospital. And the architect has described this in a lot more detail than I just did at this point. Mr. Kelso's already touched on the parking. When we're in front of the planning board, we'll get into detailed numbers on where the patrons of the facility will park. But I will reiterate, we are not seeking any variances from the redevelopment plan that's adopted previously.
And as part of our requirement, we will, assuming that we do get site plan approval, we will be seeking approval for the encroachments in the right-of-way from the city council. Even though the plan allows it, it's kind of an unusual situation. It allows an overall negative setback, but it still encroaches in the right-of-way, and we would want the council to approve that, and they'll have their opportunity to do that as well. That's all, please? Yeah, at this time, I would call Mike Borland for testimony.
I'm Mike Rowland from Drummond Keisel Architects and Engineers. I've not been before this board before. I'm a registered architect and the project manager for my company on this project. As the previous people presented, this is our medical office building. We're creating a sort of a bookend on Somerset Street to the existing campus. It's a 15-story building with a full basement. The basement is going to include utilities only, essentially. Our first floor is lobby and drop-off zone and the loading. The loading, in addition to some of the small trucks, because of the neurology departments and some of the other departments moving in here, there is an anticipation that there will be people being dropped off by ambulance and by sort of assistance carriers. That will also be able to be provided off street and with a little more discretion than right in the front area there. The drop off is also helping us accommodate the parking because there will be a valet essentially where people are able to drop off and then have a valet system that helps with their car as well. Floors 2 through 15 cover the shaded outline here. We cross Plum Street for a large portion of the building and provide a small bridge into the Children's Specialized. This is to help with the overall campus feel and circulation, but also to provide the appropriate footprint for the functions that they're putting in place. A lot of the programs are taking full floors and multiple floors of the building. That's all being sort of worked out and negotiated with the hospital, but we'll have a full footprint that can be useful for all these departments that are out of space in other areas of the hospital. The office floors are about 15,500 square feet total. The building ends up at about 230,000 square feet, just under 230,000 square feet, and just over 200 feet to the top, to the height of it. Our concepts currently are for this to be a curtain wall of glass and panels tying into the existing fabric of the campus.
And just interrupt, we don't have an enlarged exhibit for you, but you do have
Yes,
in your
sir.
packet, especially the elevations and the color version of the elevations, which I think you were about to describe,
Yes,
right?
yeah, sorry. The cover sheet of your packet there, you'll see we've got a glass and metal panels curtain wall system that's really tying into some of the fabric of the existing medical campus. and also tying into sort of the contemporary medical office, modern office feel with the current needs with energy codes and make a real true modern contemporary functional building for them to have these programs in.
And the individual floors are not specifically laid out, they'll be laid out by the hospital, so.
Correct.
We could show you a typical floor plan, but they're
The
really.
typical
in
floor
this-
plate, yeah, the typical floor plate currently is 4 elevators and a couple fire stairs, and we'll be fitting that up with the hospital as an infill project.
And you can imagine there's a lot of specialized equipment and things in the various floors, so every floor is going to be a little bit different. I think that's all we have in terms of this. I mean, it's a big project, but there's not a lot to describe other than what you see in the plans and, what brought us here. I think it's obviously a significant addition to the downtown, a logical extension of the campus itself, and I think it's really important because it brings Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas, really at the cutting edge of being able to provide first-rate services in a first-rate facility. And obviously, we all know there's additional plans that Robert Wood has with regard to the Cancer Institute and others, and it's all it's a huge investment that is being made here, not only by my client, who will operate as the owner and landlord of that building, but by the hospital itself. So that's basically our presentation. Obviously, we're here for questions for you.
Questions from commissioners? Can I have a motion?
You have a motion and a second, Chair, already? Ready?
Roll call? Vote?
Can I comment on this?
Go ahead, comment.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. Charles Prattville, New Brunswick today. I'm going to respectfully ask you to hold off on approving the concept plan in light of the history of the site. Also want to point out for the record, the redevelopment plan is already being violated by RWJ Barnabas. You can confirm this with the planning director of the city of New Brunswick if you like, but they are not complying with some of their conditions of their approval for that site plan. Also, I want to know if the parking arrangement that's currently being used on the site, is that permitted under the zoning currently, or are they in
You had a
violation?
nice comment there, and then you just got into a question. We were just saying it was doing comments, so.
Okay, so I was wondering if the current use is legal or not, and,
Question on that?
unless, actually, that was a statement, but I'm saying, I'm wondering
Make
whether,
your statement,
whether or not the
make your
current.
comment,
Okay,
and we'll just get right.
Yeah.
Let's just keep going. Make
yeah,
your
so
statements,
what you're
your
telling me
comments.
is you won't answer questions. Right? Okay, so that's fine, I can still make my point, that I don't know that the current use is even legal. The redevelopment plan is currently being violated. There's discussion of a master lease with RWJ Barnabas, but I don't believe the details have been provided. And just look at the actual history of the site. There were some misrepresentations made by Mr. Kelso, such that he said that it's been parking lot for the past 10 years. I know for a fact it hasn't been. I lived in that neighborhood and I complained about it when it was a gravel lot with a porta potty turned on its side with a fence around it for years. And so the end result was that they started using it as parking through the parking authority. They get a check from the parking authority for the use. I'm just curious if that's even a legal use under the redevelopment plan, and I would think that before you approve these folks to continue it, you might want to check if they're complying with the existing, policies that they said they would. And so I would also question redesignating AST. Of course, they had promised to build housing on the site and then backed out. Their attorney blames it on the housing market, but that was more than 10 years ago, and we're only now seeing any type of proposal coming forth. Where were they for the past 10 years? Have they been coming to the board and being upfront about what the issue is, and why did it take me complaining to get that porta potty gravel lot situation resolved? I'm just suggesting that they haven't followed through on some of the things they promised this board before. I don't know if anybody was on the board back in 2006 when you approved this the first time, but if they're not making good on their deals, they're probably not the best choice to continue with. And I would say though, you're right to ask if their finances have improved since then or what they think is different now. And I gotta be honest, the main reason that I'm here opposing this and asking you to hold off is because I read media reports from the time that the original proposal was put forth and approved. And the community there really was opposed to having something that big. 15 stories is bigger than even what I think was pushed for. I think I don't know if you'll answer a question, but if it was 6 or 8 stories, what was approved before, this is more than twice as big. And just in the reports I read, the community wanted to keep the size of the building in character with their neighborhood, and they were, at the very least, wanted it to be housing, right? Because that's something the neighborhood felt that they needed then, and I think is still the case. And so I think that this project isn't really in line with what the community brought forth the first time around. And I don't know, for instance, how many people in the community were aware of this meeting tonight or the fact that this proposal is moving forward, but I would just ask you to be good representatives of that community and look back at what happened in 2006 and what some of the arguments were against building a 12-story building or more there, and question this application and say, what's changed since then? Why was it not okay back then, but it's going to be okay now? And again, I would certainly think that it's fair game to ask about Plum 1. If this is called Plum 2, how good is Plum 1 doing? Plum 10 Plum Street is, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, sure, I'll be quick.
Please.
Yep, almost
We
done.
have to move on with the meeting, and like I said, comments, I'm fine with all that, and I'm sure everybody else is, and you're
Great.
voicing your opinion, but, we
Thank
have
you.
to move on, so.
Yeah, almost done. So I would just say, 10 Plum Street, from my perspective,
Please.
doesn't really bring much to the neighborhood. It's got nothing on the ground level for the community. It's a big institutional kind of blocky building that, as far as I'm concerned, if we have another one like that on the other side, that's not going to really be a great addition to the community. It could be something much better. And maybe this is the developer that can do it, but maybe somebody else can too, and maybe this isn't the right use, and I would urge you to hold off on it. I think the only other thing is I would say they put forth a couple of promises in terms of having construction begin by September, and that it'll be done within 2 years, and I would urge this board to, when you do, if you do approve a redevelopment agreement with them, to strictly enforce their promises and put those in writing. Unfortunately, the hospital has not been a good neighbor, a good partner, and that's why they're currently in violation of some of the things they promised, but at least we got them in writing, so people like me can hold them accountable now. Please make sure you get in writing all these promises that they're making here.
Thank you, Matt, very much for your comments. Can we have a
Roll call.
vote, please?
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Chair.
I'm gonna have to abstain, please.
Okay. Shall I go on, Chair?
Thank you very much.
Chair, shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you for coming
Thank you for your
and your presentation.
Resolution number 49 is a resolution authorizing and approving the payment of bills for the month of November 2019.
Can I have a motion, please? So moved. I'll second.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, hold on one second. Moved and seconded. Commissioner Dunlap, yes. Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Who am I missing? Chair.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Resolution number 50 is resolution authorizing and approving contract with GEI for additional remediation testing services in the amount not to exceed $16,500.
Can I have a motion? Is there any questions? A motion first, please.
Yeah, need a motion?
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
accept. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions?
Ready?
Yes, please.
Commissioner Dunlap? Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 51 is resolution appointing John Clark as the front commissioner for the, sorry?
Kid, I'm teasing.
Oh, for the New Jersey Public Housing Authority Joint Insurance Fund.
Can I have a motion, please? I'll second.
Chair, as you know, this is an annual transaction. We're part of the joint insurance fund. We're required to have a commissioner. Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 52 is a resolution authorizing and approving revised flat rents for the New Brunswick Housing Authority's public housing program effective January 1, 2020.
Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
I'll second.
Chair, we're required to do these as the FMRs are amended. We have to be within 80% of those, and these numbers reflect that, the new FMRs, which will go into effect in January. Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 53 is a resolution authorizing and approving contract for professional risk management services with Alamo Insurance Group.
Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
So Chair, this is a annual contract for professional services contract with regard to insurance. They do training, they come in and do our insurance components, and they provide that as part of the joint insurance fund, but we still are required to designate.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Approved.
Commissioner Wright?
Approved.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 54 is a resolution authorizing and approving contract for fee accounting services with Bulgarian Company in the amount not to exceed $47,400.
Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
This is one of our annual procured and bid, RFP, I should say, contracts. And this was the lowest responsible bidder. Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 55 is a resolution authorizing and approving revised housing authority of the City of New Brunswick procurement policy.
Can I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll second it.
As you know, Chair, there have been some revisions to the procurement laws. This is an update to the policy, and we've circulated it through council, and they've made the recommendation and cleared. We also have our management consultant that has also reviewed the revisions and has recommended it for adoption by the board. Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 56 is a resolution authorizing and approving a revised housing authority of the City of New Brunswick internal control policy.
Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
So Chair, likewise, the internal controls policy is in need of being updated. This update includes revisions that we've gone over with our council and discussed with our management service contract person and senior staff, and we're recommending the changes be incorporated into a new revised policy.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
And Chair.
Yes.
Resolution number 57 is a resolution authorizing and approving an interagency agreement between the Franklin Township Housing Authority and the New Brunswick Housing Authority.
Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
This is our annual contract with the Franklin Township Housing Authority. The contract has the same total budget amount as last year, which is $77,000. And all of the other items included in the previous contract with some minor revisions to any salary increases for anyone that had them, even though we only had minimal number for people that had that. And we're going to have the counterpart to this considered at the Franklin meeting over the next couple months.
Okay.
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
That's all I had. The only other thing I wanted to say was our toy event.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, so we have, there's actually 3 events I emailed out to the board. The main event on this site will be Monday, the 23rd at 6 p.m. If you want to come a little bit earlier, Santa will be here. We'll be meeting some Santa helpers if anyone wants to try to help. That'd be fantastic. That's 6 p.m. start, and we're doing a little differently this year. We're going to do family bags. So we've already in the process of loading bags with our staff. This way every child will get 3 gifts, and we'll make sure it's done in an organized manner. So people will come, but there will be a pretty big run on Santa. We'll also have some small items for kids that take their pictures. It's really big with the tenants that come and take the picture with Santa, and then we give them a free copy of the actual color picture with Santa.
And hot chocolate, sorry,
And
John.
there will be hot
And
chocolate.
maybe hot dogs, we'll see if we
I
can
don't know about
splurge a little.
hot dogs, you
They're
got.
watching us
we'll see.
closely now, every little
we'll
penny,
see.
you know, they got problems down there in DC. Gotta watch.
Oh, last but not least, as you may be hearing, they're calling it a minibus budget. I'm not really sure what that means. But I will tell you that it appears that the HUD budget, which is one of the 12 funding budgets within the federal budget system, has gone through markup in its committee. I don't know whether that means that it will go to a final approval. I know the Senate's a little busy right now with some other stuff. So we're hoping that that will go to committee before the end of this week. The funding for the HUD programs runs out on the 23rd?
Yeah.
December. So we're very hopeful that it goes to a final vote. As you may know, they have approved 2 years of budgets, but the budgets within those, the overall budget was not approved, and HUD was one of, the T-HUD, which is Transportation and HUD, was not one of the approved budgets. So as of December 23rd, we're not in budget, which would mean that we essentially would operate based on our funding subsidies from the beginning of the month, where we get funded for the month. And then if we're not front-loaded, meaning that before they shut down the government, they would load January, so that it would be distributed on January 1st to us, even though the government is technically shut down. That's what they did last time.
I was gonna say, didn't they?
Yeah, they gave us 1 month, so we had through the end of that month, and then they negotiated settlement in February, so we were able to open before the money ran out, I guess in a weird way. So as soon as I get some more information on that, I'll let you know, but as of right now, I haven't heard anything yet about a vote or a time frame. As you know, this could get through Senate and approved, and then the president refuses to sign, which would mean they have to go back to get a majority, which is probably not gonna happen. So, we're hopeful that, and it's been pretty much negotiated and settled out. The amounts are relatively stagnant for us, there's no really huge increase, there's no, there's no huge capital program for what we need to do all of the systems. So we essentially will continue to limp things along as best as we can. That being said, I hope everyone has a great holiday. Thank you so much for coming, and that'll complete my report.
Thank you very much, John. Well, I just want to tell everybody to have a nice, safe, and happy holidays. And I guess we got a new year coming up.
Good
I
luck.
hope everything works out well with the budget. And
Yes.
can I have a motion to adjourn?
Public.
Oh, sorry. Comments, please?
Good evening, members of the board, Charles Cradaville, New Brunswick. I was unable to attend your last meeting on account of it was the same time as the city council. Tonight, same is true. This is, in my view, a problem that repeats itself every year in November, December, when your schedule is a little bit different because of the holidays. I was just going to ask, in the holiday spirit, if there's any way you could revisit your schedule. I know you approved it at the last meeting, but just those last 2 dates, November, December, they are up against the city council, and just asking, for civic engagement's sake, that you change those dates. Would you be willing to do that?
That was a question again, right? And we already voted on our dates, correct?
Yeah.
I guess, Charlie, you're gonna have to pick and choose your battles seriously if it's gonna be on the same day,
Yeah, I got you. I'm asking you, and with your power, to change the date.
Right now, we have everything in place, and that's
So
what we're
you're
gonna keep.
declining to change the date, okay. Just respectfully, as you move forward, scheduling government meetings up against one another, it's not really fair to the public, who cares, and to your, council liaison, who can't be here when she has to be at the meeting she was elected to be at. I just have a question for you. If you could tell us why you abstained on the vote today?
I don't have to tell you why I abstained on the vote today.
Okay. Do you have a conflict of interest with the developer?
You're asking me a question, I just told you I don't have to tell you anything about my abstaining from this vote.
Okay. So you don't have to, and you won't.
It's just comment
You
time, right?
refuse.
It's comment time and question. You can ask me 20 times. You're burning your own candle here with your time. So if you have other comments, do it.
No, this is the only one I want to know. I want to know why. I want to
I'm not
know.
gonna comment.
I want to know
Can I
why
have
you
a motion
abstained.
to adjourn,
Why you
please?
abstained from the vote? Is it
You know what?
because you have a conflict of interest with the developer? Because in that case, you shouldn't have run the
Motion
meeting.
to adjourn
You
now.
shouldn't have restricted the public comments. You shouldn't have refrained from
somebody
allowing people to answer questions.
You can
Do we have
second
a
it.
second? Oh, I can do it. Oh, fantastic. I'll second it.
Do you have a conflict of interest?
Should we have a,
Roll call.
thank you.
How do you know Mr. Diante?
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner
This
Caldwell.
is very
Commissioner
fishy,
Medina
it seems like
Hernandez.
unethical
Yes.
behavior.
Excuse, can you
Somebody with a
scoot it
conflict
down
of
a little
interest
bit
ran
so
the-
we can,
ran the
you know,
hearing?
get our-
That's not okay.
Chair?
Yes, I'm the last guy?
Do you
Yes,
have a
so
conflict of
adjourn.
interest, sir?
Okay, we are adjourned.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It is 7:34. Chair, I need you to sign.
Oh, sure.
Also, if anyone's coming, if you could just shoot me a note, because the front office closes at 6 and there'll be a line, so we want to make sure.